Today we're covering orbital and ocular trauma. This is high-stakes content because ocular trauma is one of the leading causes of preventable blindness, and the decisions made in the first few minutes, by nurses, by first responders, by whoever is there, directly determine outcomes. We're going to go through orbital trauma, the time-critical ocular emergencies, specific injury types and their management, and the non-negotiable rules you need to have memorized before you walk into any emergency or clinical setting. The core insight on this slide is something you need to internalize. Ocular trauma is the leading cause of blindness in children and young adults. Not disease, not degeneration, trauma. And it is almost entirely preventable. The common causes are workplace injuries, sports injuries, BB guns, motor vehicle crashes, and explosions. Notice the pattern. These are all environments where protective eyewear either wasn't available, wasn't worn, or wasn't enforced. Your role in prevention education is real. Yes, every time you discharge a patient, every time you do health teaching. The message about eye protection in high-risk activities is part of your job. But when trauma does occur, rapid protocol-driven recognition is the only way to save sight. The window to act is narrow, and hesitation costs vision. Before you ever look at the eye, you follow the ABCs: airway, breathing. Circulation take absolute priority over any localized eye exam. This is non-negotiable. A patient with a significant orbital injury often has associated head trauma. You're not examining the eye while the patient is crashing. Stabilize first. Once the patient is stable, perform your head injury assessment. Orbital trauma is highly associated with head injuries, and you need to assess for underlying fractures and nerve damage. Only after the patient is stabilized do you move to the detailed eye exam. And one critical action that runs throughout this entire lecture: always document a baseline vision assessment as early as possible. That baseline is your legal and clinical reference point for everything that follows. Every subsequent finding is measured against it. 2 injury types that require immediate action. No waiting, no workup first, act now. Chemical burns, immediate prolonged irrigation. Do not wait for the ophthalmologist. Do not go find the right equipment. Irrigate immediately with whatever clean fluid is available. Saline is ideal. Tap water works. The goal is to dilute and flush the chemical before it penetrates deeper. Every second counts. We'll cover the specifics on a later slide. Penetrating injuries. Do not remove the object. I'll say that again because this is the instinct you have to override. Do not pull it out. The embedded object may be the only thing tamponating a bleeding vessel or maintaining intraocular pressure. Removing it outside the operating room can cause catastrophic additional injury and vision loss. Shield the eye. Use a rigid eye shield or a styrofoam cup, anything that protects without putting pressure on the globe, and get the patient to surgery. These 2 rules have to be automatic. Your assessment of any ocular trauma follows a 4-step sequence. Step 1, mechanism and history. Determine the cause, note any surgical history, and specifically characterize whether the vision loss was sudden or gradual. Sudden loss suggests acute structural injury, retinal detachment, globe rupture. Gradual loss suggests a different mechanism. Get the story right. Step 2, baseline vision. This is the essential first metric. Document it before any interventions if at all possible. Even if it's just hand motion or light perception, you need that number. Step 3, structural exam. Compare pupils for afferent pupillary defects, test eye movement, perform a corneal exam, and watch for high-risk signs like tissue protrusion, hyphema, or intraocular bleeding. Step 4, targeted tests. Execute specific diagnostics based on what the history and exam suggest. pH testing for chemical exposures, CT scan for suspected fractures or intraocular foreign bodies, slit lamp for corneal and anterior segment evaluation. The sequence matters. Don't jump to targeted tests without establishing your baseline. Orbital soft tissue injuries present with tenderness, swelling, bruising, and sometimes exophthalmos, that forward protrusion of the globe from swelling or bleeding behind the eye. Initial management follows a standard wound care approach. Clean the wound, suture lacerations as indicated, and apply cold compresses initially to reduce swelling. Then transition to warm compresses as the acute phase resolves. For severe swelling where the pressure becomes significant, surgical drainage may be necessary. On foreign bodies in the orbit, Removal is indicated if the material is toxic or organic. Copper and iron are toxic to ocular tissues and must come out. Organic material like wood or plant matter carries high infection risk and must come out. Inert materials like glass or plastic may be left if removal poses greater risk than retention. Critical safety rule. If there is any suspicion of metallic foreign body in the orbit, do not order an MRI. MRI will move that metal and cause catastrophic injury. CT scan is your imaging modality. Always start antibiotics to prevent infection with any orbital foreign body. 2 orbital fractures you need to know. Blowout fracture. This is a break in the orbital floor, typically from blunt force trauma like a fist or ball to the eye. The floor is the thinnest wall of the orbit, and it gives way before the globe ruptures. That's actually a protective mechanism. The floor acts as a crumple zone. But when it breaks, the orbital contents can herniate down into the maxillary sinus. Tissue entrapment causes restricted eye movement, and the globe may sink back. That's enophthalmos. Diagnosis is CT scan. Surgery is usually not urgent. Standard timing is 10 to 14 days, unless there's significant entrapment causing double vision or cosmetic deformity requiring earlier repair. Orbital roof fracture. This is the serious one. The roof borders the cranial vault. A roof fracture puts you in neuro territory immediately. These patients need both neurology and ophthalmology consultation because you're dealing with potential intracranial injury alongside the orbital injury. Never manage a roof fracture with ophthalmology alone. Chemical burns to the eye. Understand the protein barrier concept because it explains why alkali burns are more dangerous than acid burns. Acid burns. When acid hits the cornea, it denatures surface proteins and creates a coagulative barrier. That protein barrier actually limits how deep the acid penetrates. The damage is typically confined to the anterior structures, still serious but self-limiting in terms of penetration depth. Alkali burns. Alkali does the opposite. It causes liquefactive necrosis, continuously penetrating through layers without forming a barrier. Ammonia, lye, cement, oven cleaner. These can penetrate through the cornea into the anterior chamber within minutes. The damage is deeper and more devastating. That's why alkali burns are classified as the deepest, most severe ocular chemical injuries. Management for both. Immediate prolonged irrigation until pH normalizes. Check pH of the eye and keep irrigating until you hit neutral. Administer IV antibiotics, tetanus prophylaxis, and pain control. And a critical nursing rule. Strictly avoid eye drops if the globe is ruptured. You do not instill anything into a ruptured eye. Foreign bodies and corneal abrasions are among the most common ocular presentations you'll see. General management. Remove superficial debris carefully, apply antibiotic ointment, and consider patching the eye for comfort and protection. Straightforward in most cases. But there's a special population that needs specific attention. Contact lens wearers. Contact lens wearers with corneal abrasions or foreign bodies are at significantly elevated risk for bacterial infection, particularly Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Pseudomonas is aggressive and can destroy a cornea rapidly. Treat these patients for infection immediately. Do not wait for culture results to come back before starting antibiotics. And here is a rule you must memorize and never break. Never prescribe or provide topical anesthetic drops for the patient to use at home. Topical anesthetics like tetracaine numb the eye and feel like a miracle to a patient in pain from a corneal abrasion. But they impair the healing epithelium, mask symptoms that signal worsening infection, and with repeated use cause severe corneal toxicity. They are for clinical use only in your hands during examination. Never send them home with the patient. Blunt trauma to the eye. A fist, a ball, an airbag generates a pressure wave through the ocular contents that can damage any structure. 2 primary risks: retinal detachment from the force transmitted to the posterior segment and outright globe rupture. But the finding you need to recognize and manage immediately at the bedside is hyphema, blood pooling in the anterior chamber between the cornea and iris. You can often see it as a red fluid level in the lower anterior chamber on examination. Hyphema indicates significant blunt force injury and carries risks of elevated IOP and rebleeding, which can be worse than the initial bleed. Management protocol. Keep the patient quiet and calm. Activity raises blood pressure and increases rebleeding risk. Apply a rigid eye shield, not a patch that puts pressure on the eye, a shield that protects without compressing. Strictly avoid anticoagulants, aspirin, NSAIDs, anything that impairs clotting. The patient needs ophthalmology evaluation urgently. A significant hyphema, especially one that fills the anterior chamber, called an 8-ball hyphema, may require surgical washout. Ruptured globe is an absolute surgical emergency, full stop. When the structural integrity of the eye is compromised, whether from penetrating injury or blunt trauma, you have a surgical emergency that requires immediate ophthalmologic intervention. Do not delay. The key nursing actions. Shield the eye immediately. Rigid shield. No pressure on the globe whatsoever. Do not instill any drops. Do not allow the patient to eat or drink in preparation for surgery. Keep the patient calm and still. Now here is a concept you need to know. Sympathetic ophthalmia. If a ruptured globe cannot be repaired surgically, the eye must be removed within 2 weeks. The reason? In some cases, the immune system recognizes the injured eye's uveal antigens as foreign and mounts an autoimmune attack, then crosses over and attacks the healthy fellow eye. This is sympathetic ophthalmia, and it can cause bilateral blindness. It's rare but catastrophic, and removal of the unsalvageable eye within the 2-week window is the intervention that prevents it. This is why we don't just leave a destroyed eye in place. There is an active timeline for decision-making. Intraocular foreign bodies are a different level of complexity from orbital foreign bodies because the object is inside the eye. These typically result from high-velocity mechanisms, metal grinding, explosions, nail guns. The velocity is what drives the object through the sclera or cornea into the eye. Diagnosis? Slit lamp examination, indirect ophthalmoscopy, and CT scan. The diagnostic rule here is the same as for orbital foreign bodies. No MRI if there is any suspicion of metallic material. MRI and metal inside the eye is a catastrophic combination. CT is your imaging tool. Management. Toxic materials, copper and iron, and organic materials must be surgically removed. They cause direct chemical toxicity and severe inflammatory reactions that will destroy the retina. The retina also needs to be treated prophylactically to prevent detachment, because the entry wound and the inflammatory response both create detachment risk. These cases go directly to the operating room. Let's complete the burn picture. 2 additional burn types beyond chemical. Thermal burns, caused by direct heat or fire, flame, hot metal, steam. Management, antibiotic ointment and patching to protect the cornea and promote healing. Photochemical burns, caused by intense UV light exposure. Classic examples are welding arc eye, also called welder's flash or arc eye, and snow blindness from UV reflection off snow. Patients typically don't have symptoms immediately. The injury manifests 6 to 12 hours later as severe pain, tearing, and photophobia that feels exactly like a bilateral corneal abrasion. And the treatment is the same as thermal burns, antibiotic ointment, and patching. Here's the clinical unification point that makes this easy. Despite the completely different mechanisms of thermal and photochemical burns, the treatment protocol is identical. Antibiotics and patching for both. So when you're triaging a welder who comes in with eye pain several hours after work, or a skier who is out without goggles, treat it the same way you'd treat a thermal injury. 4 rules that must be automatic. The clinical red lines you never cross. Never prioritize the eye over the patient. Airway, breathing, and circulation always come first. An eye can potentially be saved later. A compromised airway cannot wait. Never pull out a penetrating object. Leave it in place and shield the eye until surgery. No exceptions, regardless of how accessible or removable it looks. Never order an MRI for suspected metal. CT scan for suspected intraocular or orbital metallic foreign body every time. MRI and metal is a catastrophic combination that you can completely prevent by knowing this rule. Never prescribe topical anesthetics for home use. They are clinical tools only. Sending them home with the patient masks warning signs impairs healing and causes corneal toxicity. These 4 rules together form your non-negotiable safety framework for ocular trauma. Know them cold. Let's close with the triage dashboard. Your at-a-glance reference, baseline rules, always stabilize systemic injuries first. Always document baseline vision early. You will need that number. Immediate actions, irrigate chemical burns instantly. Don't wait for anything. Shield penetrating injuries and never extract. These 2 actions are time critical and potentially vision saving. The high-risk triad, 3 findings that tell you this is a serious injury requiring urgent ophthalmologic intervention. Hyphema, blood in the anterior chamber, restrict activity, shield, no anticoagulants, ophthalmology now. Ruptured globe, surgical emergency, shield with no pressure, surgery within hours, removal within 2 weeks, if unrepairable to prevent sympathetic ophthalmia. Intraocular foreign body, CT, not MRI, surgical removal of toxic or organic material, treat retina to prevent detachment. Memorize this triad. When you see any of these 3 findings in a trauma patient, your response should be immediate and protocol-driven. That's how we save vision.